Gossip with Barbie, where we discuss wonderful things that we want to talk about. As a reminder, before we begin, the guests on our live streams reflect a diverse set of morals, values, and ethics that may not reflect the morals, values, and ethics of the Misfit Amish. This live stream may also discuss trauma of all sorts to include all types of abuse. Viewers and listeners may find it unsettling and triggering. If this live stream causes you distress, please cease listening until you're able to listen again. You may also seek support from your trusted folks and qualified mental health professions as needed. With that being said, please welcome Barbie, because tonight we're going to talk about this article on Psychology Today.
Hi, I'm so excited to talk about this article.
Oh yeah? How come?
Well, there's just a lot of myths. It's full of myths.
It's full of myths. What do you mean?
Well, it's not
It,
true. Assumptions, I guess.
so would you say it's perhaps could have some misinformation?
Yeah. Do we think so? It's
I mean,
almost all misinformation, correct?
we start off with like demographics, etc. And there is a statement made about different occupations, which I don't disagree with. However, there's also a statement made that given the diversity, a one size fits all approach will not meet the needs of Amish families. And to be clear, this article talks about working with Amish families on child abuse and neglect. It's one of the reasons I read it. I read it years ago when it came out. It's been out since 2021, and I've been wanting to talk about it because it's been out, but I just didn't know where to start.
Do you know if it was super popular when it came out?
I do not. And I would agree with the statement saying a one size fits all approach will not meet the needs of Amish families. This is true because Amish have decentralized leadership, and as such, practices and varying nuances within the group can vary greatly. Like Barbie and I
Yeah.
have some very interesting experiences, but we didn't know each other while we were still in the church, and we were different flavors of Amish.
Exactly. Yeah, I really like the statement too regarding them saying that a one size fits all approach does not work.
Yeah. And I think it's a good statement. It's somebody had some insight at some point. And then there's the background of Amish people to a brief background. Okay, that's I'm leaving that alone. We're not even touching that. But when we start talking about values and customs, and they start off with the Amish value self-denial and humility.
Let me scroll down.
And then to say the Amish foster a very real sense of yieldness, or Gelassenheit in German. Um, did you ever hear that word used to refer to ourselves, or like as something we should do when you were still in the church?
No, it
I
was
didn't
so
either.
close when I saw that word. But do you was it used in your communities?
No, I don't recall that word like specific, like we would have that. mm. And then to say, um, when Amish children get hurt, their parents may look uncaring to outsiders who misinterpret their acceptance of the way things are as a sign of lack of concern for their children. It's not. To some extent, how do you feel about that statement?
Um, kind of conflicted because on one hand, Okay, if you're not caring for your child, isn't that the truth? Maybe you just don't care. Like you're not caring for your child, I guess. But also on like we are part of a culture. These parents aren't just individuals acting on their own. So maybe it's a culture or a system that needs to be changed, not necessarily individuals.
Well, we come from a different culture, and as such, we show affection in different ways. It doesn't mean that it's good. I'm not calling it good or bad. I'm saying we come from a different culture. Like, even though we were these different types of Amish, would it be appropriate to give you a handshake when I meet you? As opposed to in dominant culture, when you meet people that you care about or you know very well, you might give them a hug, not necessarily a
Yeah,
handshake. You get what I'm saying here is
yeah,
like affection. When we go to formal events, we would greet each other differently. And I,
okay,
and I
yeah,
think in a way, part of what people are doing is they're giving excessive benefit of the doubt to Amish parents when they see things that result in like child neglect, child abuse, child maltreatment of any type. Because they're Amish, they're painting it with this, oh, it's not really like that. That's just your perception of it. Mm,
okay. So I guess I was a little bit confused on that topic at first. I'm completely fine with our cultures showing different types of affection. I don't
mhm.
think hugs are better than handshakes. It's just different.
Yep.
But as far as I thought, like when an Amish child is being like that, so what do you think? Do you think it's fair to say that the parents don't aren't caring about that child?
I don't know that I would say that, but I would say, well, it may be fair that maybe the parents have never had um, parenting information that allows them to connect with their children in healthy ways. And you should perhaps provide information to help them connect with the children, their children in healthy ways. Because when people don't have tools or resources, or even sometimes we need role models to demonstrate, because people model behaviors that they admire in other people. Children
Yeah,
do it too, but people really do that.
yeah,
So maybe you need to be like providing more information so that these parents can become better connected with their children.
yeah. It's again, I don't really. That's I like what you said because I don't really like blaming the individuals. Um, I mean, in some instances, yes, but in some instances, when it's cultural, I don't think we should necessarily just point at the individuals without, educating them more, I guess.
Right. Because when a culture creates an environment where they have these norms that we know, because of current research, they contribute to an increased risk of child abuse and maltreatment.
E-
Um, it's just, you have to address the cultural issues.
Exactly. And I think this article also talks about how the Amish really value children. Do you
Oh,
have thoughts about that?
we'll get to that very shortly. But first, I want to tell everybody that there is a part of this article that talks about Amish valuing nonviolence, and it's expressed as pacifism. First off, all the Amish people I know refer to themselves as conscientious objectors. I just want you to know that. We would not call ourselves pacifists like the Mennonites. Just just a fun tip. Second off, we have previously recorded a podcast with a panel discussion on conscientious objectors and pacifism, you're welcome to listen to that podcast, and maybe you'll understand better part of our problem. They do conclude that that value also leads to them avoiding it to avoid reporting crimes. Well, actually, the avoidance of reporting crimes is also because we don't trust the government. And why do we not trust the government? Because it for over like for over 300 years, we we have been taught not to trust the government. Some of us are taught explicitly things like the government wants to take your children. Some of us are taught less explicit things, but most of us are taught to honor our martyrs, and our martyrs died so that we could, have this religious freedom when we escaped to America. And to honor our martyrs, we also don't involve ourselves in government things. That's part of it. So we wouldn't reach out to the government necessarily for help because the government killed us in
Yeah.
historical context. And there's a book called The Bloody Theater of the Martyr's Mirror that has graphic depictions of these killings. So, with that being said, yeah. Do you have thoughts?
Um. Okay. Well, we were just saying how then child neglect isn't necessarily an individualistic issue. Like, yes, an individual can abuse or neglect that child, but in many cases, it's called
There, there are
like
so.
the
Are you going with like there are societal factors or cultural
yeah,
factors
the
that
culture.
that make it easier for people to engage in child maltreatment?
Yeah. So, how is it fair to say that the culture values children?
Or I don't feel like that's a fair statement. I think that people around the world have different responses to becoming parents. Some people never want to become parents. That's okay. Don't become parents. Um, I know firsthand what it's like to experience a parent that doesn't want you. Um, when you when you do that, when you have parents that don't want you, um, children know that. Children know
Yeah.
that, and it comes out in the ways that you treat them.
Yeah.
I don't think that's fair. But there's also people who do love their children and people who do, like, if you're going to say, well, the parents did the best they could, please, please stop saying that. That is not an acknowledgement of the issues. And when you say that, it's a thought stopping cliche that means that we don't have to do anything. But really, we do have to do something, because when we just sit here and we just allow these things to continue and remain unchecked, we're kind of like, maybe we're not engaging in it because of whatever, but we're allowing it to continue.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's fair at all. I really don't. Uh, what about the part where they say the Amish speak slowly and quietly,
Oh my god.
allowing silence? And Amish avoid being assertive. Girl,
Oh,
girl,
I was hoping you would
woman,
say that. I can't.
woman. Weißt du, was wir unserer Freundschaft?
Have they ever been in
Oh,
a single Amish house? Just one Amish house.
well, and even if they have been, were the people comfortable around them? Like,
Oh yeah, that's true.
like I know damn well when somebody came that was never Amish, there was a
Oh my,
difference in how we talked.
you are so right. I remember that too. But like, if we were comfortable with them, they would.
It was different.
Yeah, we would tell like we would be our quote unquote root selves because apparently I mean, in my family, we interrupt and talk over each other a lot, and like we're kind of just like whatever. Like we'll get
Yeah.
our word in later, but apparently people out here don't like that.
Well, and I don't even think it's just your family. I think culturally, like we do a lot of like what dominant culture sees as rude, and it's just normal for us.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
we kind of just like we all talk at the same time. You'll have like all these people getting together. We're all talking at the same time, and we are loud.
We're so low.
We're
And
so loud. Like
that makes me feel at home whenever was like talking, chatting, and interrupting. I don't like when people get hurt about the interrupting or the cutting off thing. It's like, okay, just try it. I don't know, maybe you should have been talking louder. And then you would not have gotten cut off.
it's a cultural norm. That's what we do. That's how we
Exactly.
talk. Oh, and the best part, we avoid being assertive. And the winner for the most misinformation of the article is Amish avoid being assertive in their language or behavior or actions, I guess. Okay, we're the winner. We are the winner.
Um, this really makes me think, okay, these people really, some of these outsiders just see us as these like very, very calm. I don't even know how to describe it. Are we even allowed to be human? They just see us as
No,
these very quiet people who are like we're human beings who
no,
have
we're
fun.
not. We don't speak with expressions and we don't express ourselves in any way, shape, or form. And we don't speak assertively, which is also a lie. Have you ever heard an Amish preacher? Livet bryr försten heter och vad gör det samma vi med som en kokavassa här är så jag är smitt ifrån. See att så förstått så att scissors not even right. And
Exactly.
I promise you, that is like, and that's not even the worst. Like, I could do so much worse in mimicking an Amish preaching. Or like when
Yeah.
people get heated, they're people. People do people things, and that includes having, assertive or
Yeah.
other
It,
communication. And this whole like determining that we don't use assertive language is hilarious because I have literally spent 20 years trying to explain to people that where I come from, it is a cultural norm to be very direct rather than
yeah.
almost wishy-washy or whatever that is. And it feels
Yeah.
like nails on chalkboard when people expect me to explain things in a very indirect way. It's really, really difficult for me to navigate a situation that feels like it requires.
It's kind of emotionally exhausting. I was just talking to my sister about this, like feeling like we have to overcompensate so others don't think we're rude.
Hmm. Yep. Oh, Gloria says spot. Okay, for the record. So what I said is, dearly beloved brothers and sisters, we're gathered here today to see what this woman has to say. Anyways, and what's going on? I said, what's the hairiest? No, okay, is all. What's the hairy? That's like an expression. It
But
means what the hairy, but it's like I don't know how to translate that appropriately, but somebody else can probably do a better job than me. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. And then Gloria said sput, and sput means you're mocking.
yeah.
Was it really mocking though? I just felt like it was an appropriate time. I felt led. The universe wanted me to do that. Are you saying it
Exactly.
wasn't divinely inspired? Okay. Back to this article. when they say community preservation comes first in making large and small decisions, and then there's a conclusion that owning a car or rubber wheeled farm vehicles, it would be easier for them to leave. Well, congratulations. I know old order Amish people that own rubber wheeled farm equipment. But go ahead, please spread more misinformation. In fact, I actually lived in old order Amish communities where we had tractors, and I lived in other communities where we didn't have that. Like,
And even a lot, like the idea that you could, I mean, I guess maybe you could get easier physically out of your house if you had a car, but the idea that you could leave easier, that we're not allowed to have tractors because we would leave, like, that's crazy.
or the cars. And then we can't have phones in our homes. I'm just gonna say I'm pretty sure there's a specific flavor of Amish that might have phones in their homes. I'm not gonna say there is, but I digress. Like I'm about 90% certain. But
Uh,
anyways, then there's like this talk about conformity, and it gives us a sense of safety and belonging and relieves them of the need to make individual choices.
oh, it relieves us. I haven't felt that relief. I wouldn't feel it.
I never felt that relief. I never ever felt that relief. What do you mean you didn't feel it?
Uh, this is like insane.
You didn't feel relieved because you were expected to be exactly like everybody else?
Because I was expected to be perfect, and like our dress and everything had to be perfect. That was more stress. I'd rather just be like, what do you mean?
What kind of relief were we supposed to get? I feel cheated. I feel cheated. Like, how dare they not give us that relief? Because I did everything in my power to be the right kind of Amish kid and young adult. Like, I did everything. So
Yeah,
I feel cheated. They cheated us out of that.
yeah, definitely. What was the first part? Because I remember the relief part, but
Mm. Conformity and dress, transportation, homes, or farming and businesses.
what about
I'm sorry. What?
wait? What about conformity though?
That's what makes us as gives us a sense of safety and belonging and relieves us.
Oh,
Like this is what we're supposed to get relief from. And all I can remember is like never being able having a moving goalpost and never being able to meet it.
how does conformity like? What is beneficial about conformity?
It gives
I
us a
mean,
sense of safety and relieves us. It's supposed to relieve us. I'm telling you, we were cheated.
we were cheated. Can we
They,
find?
can
First of
we
all, can we find an Amish community that is? We need an Amish community that relieves us and lives up to all these dominant what the dominant culture thinks is Amish. Can you imagine that?
Oh my god, can we return our experiences to sender? I think did we get a receipt? Can we return it? Like I don't know. Like I just
Refund. Give us a refund.
yeah, I need a refund. I need something because we were cheated. But with that being said, then they go into like um children doing a family size and children doing chores, which is true. Yes, children participate in daily chores often, etc. Um, but then I think they minimize the impacts of parentifying children because They also talk about parents thinking of their children as more capable than never Amish parents. And it results in, oh, so they think their kids are capable. Now that's okay. Well, what you going to tell that kid that was like the 16-year-old that was driving a skid loader or driving a horse and wagon, and their little 4-year-old sibling was on the wagon, or they accidentally drove over their younger sibling and their sibling died from it? What are you going to tell them? They have to
Eh,
live with that. So were they really more capable, or is this a case where we really should be giving children chores and responsibilities that are on par with their developmental level and
Yep,
appropriate for them?
exactly.
Then they talk about schools, yes, but they don't give. So there's this thing where in certain families or certain communities, when Amish children have a disability or they live with a disability, um, the parents might actually send them to um, public schools for the record, but they don't even mention that. And then they say that after eighth grade, Amish youth leave traditional school and enter informal apprenticeships.
Yeah, right.
Child labor in lieu of a high school education. Yeah.
For, and it's not a formal. It's not formal
In
education at all.
informal, yeah, informal apprenticeships. So
Yeah.
yeah. And then they talk about women's roles. Mothers and fathers who are farmers share more equally in parenting. I just have one question: who makes the final decision?
Yeah.
Who makes the final decision?
Not the woman.
Because if your structure of authority is your father, your brothers, your grandfather, your uncles, the elders, the ministry, etc., where is the women making decisions? It's not saying they may not have a voice. It's not saying that that's true for everybody, but that is typically the way it is structured in the group itself.
Yeah.
And then they say community life is patriarchal, but only men are allowed to assume leadership roles. Women participate in decision making and may attend and vote in business meetings. They may. They may also be given strict instructions before attending even church meetings where they vote, or church where they vote, because that happens at church too, on how they're allowed to vote. So I just want you
Yeah.
to think about that.
Um, there are a lot of restrictions with women voting in
Hmm.
my community. I've always kind of wondered what the point was of even allowing women to vote when there's so many restrictions.
That means
Women aren't.
So, for example, if that man has a wife and 6 daughters or 4 daughters that are all voting, and he tells them all to vote the same way, that man has 4 times the voting power of himself. It's power.
Oh,
It's power.
oh, oh. Thanks for telling me that.
Yeah. And then, of course, Amish families and communities love and cherish their children.
Yeah, so lovely.
Amish, mm, mm, mm. Oh, typically those who are vulnerable. Oh my God. It says Amish children are protected from many child welfare risks, such as parental unemployment, divorce, and homelessness, which are virtually non existent in Amish communities. I, I invite you to read chapter 2 of my first book. That's it. The end. I have nothing else to say about that. Because they also say the children are well cared for within their tight social circle.
Yeah, how would they know that?
And when a family experiences hardships like death, injury, or illnesses, the community will rally around them. Read chapter 2 of my first book, Reflections and Memories of an Amish Misfit, and then come back and tell me how that paragraph like sits with you.
Yeah.
Yep. Now they do criticize inadequate supervision and talk about the farm injuries, which I agree with.
Yeah.
And then they talk about valuing obedience and using corporal punishment. Hmm.
Did
Hmm.
they condemn
They don't.
corporal punishment?
No, they're just reporting facts. Um, then they say they strongly believe that spanking is critical for children's healthy development and physical abuse can result. And then they say spankings are often considered objects other than hands, since hands are considered instruments of love. What a way to justify.
Yeah. Nicely justified. Seriously?
Uh-huh. I They do point out that Amish schooling does not include science, let alone like sex education, which I agree. This is part of what makes me so irritated. This article had the ability to put out information. They had a lot of things like I actually agree with it. They talk about SA and CSA occurring in some Amish families, even incest and bestiality, um, as well as how it puts like children and adults at a disadvantage. And
Yeah.
I agree with that, but
Exactly. I just find it crazy how they can point this out, like you said, things that we agree on, like little to no little education
mhm,
and all these other things, corporal punishment, child labor, parentification,
mhm,
CSA abuse, whatever. They're reporting these facts, but then they're saying how like the Amish are so great and we're relieved from whatever. I don't know. We're
mhm.
too relieved, I guess.
They even point out that Amish children are at a higher risk for dangerous genetic conditions. This is true. They
Yeah,
they point out the lack of reporting child abuse to civil authorities. Yeah,
they point out a
but
bunch of stuff that me and you talk about, but
yes,
then they're like, the Amish are so great.
I, I, it's it just makes me feel it's so confusing because they also say um, they make this statement about Amish children attending Amish schools, and their visibility to mandatory reports such as
Oh,
teachers or health
yeah,
professionals is limited. Let me tell you something. If you live in a state where a teacher or a child caregiver is seen as a mandated reporter, it does not matter that that is an Amish school teacher. That teacher is still a mandated reporter.
yeah.
And then they conclude abuse may only be reported when it's severe enough to be noticed by non Amish neighbors. Let me tell you something. Never Amish people, multiple never Amish people that I know specifically did not report child abuse, even though they noticed.
And I know Amish people that have reported, like actively Amish people that report child abuse and have paid authorities for help, but they're not given help.
Mm-hmm.
CPS doesn't intervene because they're Amish.
Mm-hmm. And then they conclude at times child welfare and legal professionals have harmed children that by doing things that don't take into account the customs and values of this unique population. Really, really.
What I agree was the first part, authorities have harmed Amish children.
I agree. I agree with that. I
let's
mean, like,
leave it at that.
we're just, and then there's this whole thing about emphasis on forgiveness and non prosecution of legal cases allows offenders to continue their harmful behaviors unchecked. I agree with that. I
I
agree with that. And they like, they do point out the importance of the repentance of the perpetrator rather than child protection. Um, I just, I just, I don't understand um, why we then have these suggestions, and there's
yeah.
a few of them. Um, the first one is to say avoid offense, and it's basically talking about when you get blacklisted within an Amish community, that word spreads quickly. Yeah, we know who you are. Then they tell you to dress modestly, wear minimal jewelry and makeup. Okay. Then they say male professionals should not go into a house without a male family member present. Since when is that a best practice for, you know, um, abuse intervention?
Yeah.
In what literature can that be seen as a best practice? Like, you know, without a male family member present would mean that now they're going to come talk to me. Let me just put it back to you in terms that you understand, that people understand. Um, my stepfather almost killed me. So what you're saying is that if they're doing an investigation, child welfare workers should have come in and they should have asked the person that almost killed me. They should have had that person be present because that's not gonna endanger my safety. That's not gonna endanger the child. And furthermore, I would say that you ask. You as far as like, you know, telling people to only pair women with women and men with men, um, ask if there is a preferred gender.
Yeah.
Ask. Give back autonomy to the person. And then they say to work with it's best if a man and a woman professional can work as a team. And then also saying, if that's not possible, female workers can invite male church leaders to accompany them
Uh,
into their homes.
uh,
Oh my God. No,
this.
no.
Like,
But
if they want Amish people, active Amish people involved in like CPS investigations so bad, then train these Amish people to
mhm.
investigate.
um, and then they talk about building rapport, and they conclude that rapport building could take more than an hour. And the first time I read that, I fell out. I laughed so hard. No, just no. If I
No.
have known you for an hour, I'm not telling you Jack. I'm not telling you nothing. That's
Yeah.
that's no. It takes years to like no. That's not that's not what you do.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. There's a certain thing, you build a reputation. You build a reputation for showing up for the people that you're trying to support who have experienced abuse. And when you build that reputation spreads. And that also makes it to where, people will look at you differently because of that.
Yeah.
Um, as far as like saying, considering the location, do you think that? Conducting interviews in their homes at the kitchen table or on the porch or the barn in the backyard is appropriate.
Um, I'm not saying you can't go in the home at the kitchen table, but you should, like, you definitely need to make that the abuser isn't in the room, I guess.
Well, they already said do it with the male family member in the home.
Yeah,
And then
no.
remember too that whatever happens at that kitchen table, they're going to sit at that kitchen table to eat multiple times a day.
Yeah.
Um, they also say that if you invite them to the office, be sure to provide enough space and chairs for a large group. They will likely bring along extended family members and church leaders. Okay,
And that might, do we think that might be a problem?
first off, when you're talking about child abuse, in what world do you invite family members and church leaders to
Exactly.
that? You don't.
Exactly.
We have known this for years and years and years. That is not what you're supposed to do. So why are you making this statement like, oh, you're just going to make room for church leaders? What you're doing right there is you're giving church leaders more power than they actually have.
First of all, the abuser might then be in the same room as the survivor. And, like, as a survivor, I don't want just, like, too many. I don't want a lot of people knowing all of my intimate details.
We're not going to talk to you.
No.
It took me years. No, we're not going to talk to you. If we don't trust you, we're not going to talk to you. We will answer your questions, but we're not going to tell you anything. We
Yeah.
have we have perfected the art of answering your questions without telling you anything.
Yeah. That's not very good rapport building either. Just like a lot of people there. And if we're just answering the very basic questions without telling them more, like, no, what happened to rapport building?
I don't know. I mean, they do say to be respectful and focus on common values. Okay. Okay. Ask open-ended, non-judgmental questions. Okay. That's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine. I can agree with that. They do point out most Amish are not native speakers of English. Okay, yeah, we've told you that. Then they say they may not understand your questions, may be slow to respond, may use words differently, and may speak with a heavy accent. Um, then use simple vocabulary and explain more complex terms. Mm, 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 Use interpreters as needed. Okay. Where interpreters are hard to find, church or other community leaders may be able to interpret. They point out that that is problems with that there are serious problems with the reliability.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, do everything possible to prevent the removal of children from the home, especially to prevent the removal of children from the community. Mm.
Okay, I hope you have regulated Amish foster homes if you don't want them removed from the community. And yeah, I'm not for ripping children away, but um, mm, sometimes it's necessary. I mean, out here, if or in the place where I'm at, if the child is still living with the abuser or the abuser is still there, like the child has to be taken. And I think that should be the case for the Amish too.
Yeah, I mean, I've literally had people tell me that Uh, well, but it was better for me to go to my aunt's home than it would have been for me to go to a foster home. Because, those things that I experienced in my aunt's home could have happened in a foster home. And
And
I'm like, but you don't understand. You don't understand my point that I'm trying to make. That we had completely unregulated foster homes.
yeah, yep. And so also because it might have happened, how did they know that it would have happened to in a regulated foster home? They don't.
They don't.
But also they're saying because it might have, then
Yeah.
apparently it was okay.
Yeah. But they also say to recruit, train, empower safe kinship, foster, and adoptive families. Okay. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck. Then they say to establish community liaisons, and they will most likely need to be church leaders or older men in the community.
Um,
Many Amish women will not spend time with non Amish women without their husbands present. You know why? Because you're a problem. Because we don't trust you.
yeah,
Because we don't trust you.
because then you will go run to the men at any minor inconvenience.
And then you'll tell the men things. If we tell you things, then you'll go tell the men what we said, and then there could be repercussions. So, I mean,
Yeah.
this whole obsession with honoring like patriarchal authority, I feel like
Uh,
that's been a lot of what we patriarchal authority. We talked about that a lot.
yeah, we do. And I still have the problem of actually, I shouldn't say this.
Or you shouldn't, but you thought it.
I'm saying there's still, okay, I won't talk about myself, but there's still a problem of like people running to the patriarchal leaders, I guess,
Hmm.
for clarification, because I'm not, apparently, what I said needed clarification.
Yeah. Well, then, with that being said, so their conclusion is also to reach out through safety meetings. Okay, fine. There are Amish communities that have safety meetings. Sure, go ahead. Have safe community safety meetings. Thank you.
Yeah.
Uh, but overall, the article made me like when I first read this article, I almost vomited.
It made my skin crawl. I could not. I had to go paragraph by paragraph. I couldn't believe the stuff I was reading.
Like, I really, really wanted to be like, oh, this is an excellent resource, but I can't.
It just really bothers me how, and I would invite people to read this article. Um, like try to just look at what they're reporting, because what they're reporting does not align with what they're saying. Like they're basically glamorizing us, but then they're reporting stuff that is not on the good side of humanity, I guess. Like it doesn't, they don't jive together. It doesn't go together.
Hmm. I think one of the things that made me sickest was the report building, the focus on patriarchal authority, like always have a male present, etc. Making space for church leaders. When are you going to make space to listen to the voices of actually Amish women?
Yeah, exactly. When? When is that time coming?
When are
So
you?
it's
Oh, go ahead.
so it's not just the men in our community that oppress us. The outside world does it too.
And why are you catering to the power structures that specifically have been used for generations to harm so many of us?
Yep.
And then to conclude that, like, I think those were the things that really just made me sick. And to conclude that you should always like use, even using church leaders to interpret, I could feel the bile rise up in me. That was one of the grossest things I've ever heard people say.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Absolute disgusting.
So if you're listening to this and you have an Amish family that you're trying to support, or an Amish person, or somebody who may be non-practicing, like maybe they left the church, uh, one of the things I can tell you is, just because we use different speech patterns and just because we speak ESL does not mean we are lacking in intelligence. Um, Sometimes there may be cultural differences that impact us greatly, but we do invite you to inform yourself so that it's not always on that person. That amount of labor that person has to do to inform everybody in their life of how to, how these things work, it's a lot of labor, and it puts it all on that person, to the point
Yeah,
where it can make us feel like we're not even really people to you anymore. So if you want to
exactly.
inform yourself, there are resources out there, there are websites out there, there's podcasts, and there's books.
There are. And even for people that are supporting Cerebus or whoever, are supporting um people like me who were like aren't actively Amish anymore, like I would also appreciate if they would inform themselves so I don't have to do so much educating.
Yeah. Even if you're providing medical care for somebody that comes from
Yep.
these communities,
Yeah.
just treat people from Amish communities like human beings.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking. Understand that whatever English as a second language services you would provide for other people in their same situation, you should provide the same for Amish people. And don't make exceptions to
No.
excuse.
No.
Do you have parting thoughts before we end this live?
Let's say just real. I just want people to look at the facts that they're reporting, because again, I can't get it. Like, I can't get over it about how they're just reporting these kind of terrible things about us, but saying we're so great.
Yeah. And Trauma Tate says that includes enforcing the law. Yeah, that's right. You don't change the law just because somebody comes from one of, like, the Amish. You don't the
Exactly.
law doesn't the legislation does not change just because that person is Amish. Amish are in America, are American citizens. As such, they are subject to the law.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, thank you for talking to me about this.
Of course. This is fun.
Yeah. I think my parting thought is that I often felt like sometimes we really have people who perhaps maybe they're well intentioned and they do things that they think are going to be beneficial, but at the end of the day, because of their lack of cultural competency, they end up spreading information that inadvertently harms the very people group they purport to be helping. Um, I've been the recipient of people who engage in a lot of those practices that they put in the list. So I guess I can be grateful. I'm trying to be more mindful of my time and energy, and I can be grateful that they at least wrote out a whole list of it for me.
Yeah,
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 I,
that's true.
I didn't have to summarize it; they did it for me.
Yeah,
They put it in black and white, and it's publicly available. Anybody can go read it. But anyways, y'all go forth, live your best lives. Thank you for listening and engaging with this content. As always, you can like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you, Barbie, again, and thank you to our Patreon subscribers. This is produced by the Misfit Amish and our Patreon supporters. Art used in this production is by MB. And until next